My name is Serafina, and at the age of 35, life had already dealt me a blow so profound it often felt like a phantom limb, an ache that never truly subsided. 5 years ago, my beloved husband, Alistair, was stolen from me by the cruel hand of fate, his passing sudden and utterly unexpected. That day remains etched in my memory, a raw wound that time has scabbed over but never fully healed. Even now, in the quiet solitude of the night, I sometimes wake with a start, my hand instinctively reaching across the empty expanse of the bed, only to be met by the cold, stark reality of his absence. The house I now inhabit stands as a silent testament to our life together, a generous gift left to me in Alistair's will. It's a beautiful place, perhaps too vast and echoing for a solitary soul, yet I could never bring myself to relinquish it. Each room whispers with memories, each corner holds a fragment of our shared past, making it an irreplaceable sanctuary. My younger brother, Jackson, is 3 years my junior at 32. We've always shared a deep bond, a lifeline that has weathered the storms of life, even though our approaches to navigating those storms differ wildly. While I tend to tread cautiously, meticulously planning each step, Jackson is a whirlwind of impulsive action, often leaping headfirst into situations without a second thought. Nevertheless, beneath his sometimes reckless exterior beats the heart of a truly good man. A few months prior, Jackson had married Delilah. She arrived in his life with a 7-year-old son named Finn from a previous relationship. My interactions with Delilah before the wedding were fleeting, a handful of polite but somewhat reserved encounters. She struck me as quiet, almost demure, while Finn was a well-behaved child who mostly occupied his own world. Jackson and Delilah were making their way in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment, a space dictated by their limited finances. Jackson worked diligently as a warehouse supervisor, but Delilah's part-time job at a local boutique offered little financial breathing room. Then one fateful Tuesday, as the aroma of my simmering pasta sauce filled the kitchen, my phone shattered the evening's tranquility. "Hey, Serafina," Jackson's voice sounded strained, a tightrope stretched thin with worry. "Got a minute to talk?" "Sure, what's up?" I replied, stirring the sauce, a knot of unease already tightening in my stomach. "I've got a problem, actually a few problems." He inhaled deeply, the silence on the other end of the line thick with unspoken anxieties. "I got demoted at work, budget cuts, less pay, different shift." "Oh, Jackson, I'm so sorry," I murmured, the warmth of the kitchen suddenly feeling cold. "That's not all," he continued, his voice heavy. "Delilah's pregnant, 2 months along now." "Pregnant?" I echoed, a wave of mixed emotions washing over me. Should I offer congratulations or commiserate with his somber tone? "And," he added, the blow landing like a physical weight, "the landlord just gave us notice. They're renovating the building and not renewing any leases. We have to be out in 10 days, and with my pay cut and the baby coming, I can't afford the security deposit on a new place right now." I braced myself, the inevitable request hanging in the air like a gathering storm. "Serafina," he began, his voice laced with desperation. "I hate to ask this, but do you think, could we stay with you for a little while, just until I get back on my feet? Your house has those extra bedrooms. We won't be in your way, I promise. Just a few months at most." Hesitation gnawed at me. My house did indeed have 3 unused bedrooms, silent witnesses to a life now past. And he was my brother, my only immediate family since our parents had relocated to Arizona, leaving a geographical and emotional distance between us. "How's Delilah doing with the pregnancy?" I finally asked, the question a fragile bridge across the chasm of my uncertainty. "Morning sickness, tired, the usual stuff," he replied. "She's really worried about moving while pregnant, especially with nowhere to go." I pondered for another agonizing moment, the weight of responsibility pressing down on me. "Okay, Jackson," I conceded, the words feeling both like an act of love and a potential Pandora's box. "You guys can stay here while you get things sorted out." "Really? Oh man, you're a lifesaver, Serafina. I swear we won't be a burden. Delilah's great at keeping house, and she's a really good cook too. You'll hardly know we're there." "It's fine," I said, a flicker of apprehension already dancing in the shadows of my mind. "When do you want to move in? Is tomorrow too soon? The landlord's giving us a break on this month's rent if we're out quickly." And just like that, it began. The very next day, Jackson, Delilah, and Finn arrived at my doorstep. A small caravan of 6 suitcases, a jumble of cardboard boxes, and a chorus of promises that their stay would be brief. The initial weeks unfolded with a surprising ease. Delilah, true to Jackson's word, proved to be remarkably helpful. She took over the reins of dinner most nights, and her culinary skills were indeed impressive. The common areas of the house remained tidy under her care, and her conversations, though still somewhat reserved, were pleasant enough. Finn, quiet and polite, mostly retreated to his room, where the sounds of video games or the rustling of pages filled the air. An unexpected warmth began to permeate the once lonely rooms of my house. The silence that had been Alistair's lingering echo was gradually replaced by the murmur of voices and the gentle rhythm of life. Some evenings, we would gather in the living room, the flickering screen of the television casting dancing shadows as we shared movies. Occasionally, I would sit with Finn, patiently guiding him through his homework, while Delilah rested, the early stages of pregnancy claiming her energy. Jackson, though visibly stressed by his job situation, exuded an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Each morning, before he left for his new, less desirable shift, he would press a kiss to my cheek, his voice thick with appreciation. Just a few more months, he'd reiterate, a hopeful yet weary refrain. I'm putting in applications for better jobs every single day. One sun-drenched afternoon, as Delilah and I folded laundry in the living room, she offered a rare glimpse behind her reserved facade. You know, she said softly, smoothing a freshly laundered towel, I was so nervous about moving in here, but you've made it really easy. Jackson, never one to shy away from expressing his feelings, would often declare, You're the best sister anyone could ask for, Serafina. A genuine smile would bloom on my face, a warmth spreading through me as I basked in the glow of their appreciation. Perhaps, I mused, my decision to open my home hadn't been a mistake after all. It's nice having company, I admitted one evening. Actually, the house feels more alive. Well, Delilah chuckled, patting her still flat stomach. It'll get even more lively once this little one arrives. During those initial weeks, a fragile hope took root in my heart. It seemed as though everything would work out. I was supporting my brother through a difficult chapter, forging a connection with my new sister-in-law, and eagerly anticipating my role as an aunt to both Finn and the baby growing within Delilah. Little did I know that the delicate balance of our shared living arrangement was about to shatter, and the landscape of my life would be irrevocably altered. Continue. The subtle shifts in Delilah's behavior began to surface after about a month, like cracks spiderwebbing across a once smooth surface. At first, they were almost imperceptible. A missed dinner here, a perpetually messy bathroom there. Gradually, she started sleeping later into the day, retreating to the confines of their bedroom for hours, the television a constant muffled drone. When I returned home from my demanding workday, the remnants of their breakfast often still lingered in the sink, a silent accusation of undone chores, while Finn's toys lay scattered across the living room rug like fallen soldiers. She's just exhausted from the pregnancy, Jackson would offer by way of explanation, his brow furrowed with a mixture of concern and denial when I casually mentioned the growing disarray. The first trimester is the toughest. She'll bounce back. I tried to be understanding, to extend the grace of empathy. Having never experienced pregnancy myself, who was I to judge the ebb and flow of its demands? So I quietly absorbed the extra responsibilities, cleaning up after dinner, patiently guiding Finn through his multiplication tables more frequently. Then came the Saturday that irrevocably altered the trajectory of our shared living space, a day that remains seared into my memory, with the sharp sting of betrayal. It was the 5-year anniversary of Alistair's passing, a date I honored each year with a small, intimate dinner with a few of our closest friends. It wasn't a raucous affair, but a quiet gathering of souls who had loved him, a space to share cherished memories and keep his spirit alive in our hearts. I had given Jackson and Delilah ample warning, mentioning it a week in advance. Just a heads up, I'd said, trying to keep my tone light. I'm having some friends over on Saturday. We'll try to keep it down, but we'll be using the dining room and living room. Delilah had merely nodded, her gaze fixed on the luminous screen of her phone, offering a dismissive, whatever. That evening, as my friends began to arrive around 6, the house filled with a gentle hum of conversation, a comforting counterpoint to the usual silence. We settled around the dining table, plates pushed aside, the worn pages of old photo albums spread before us, each image a bittersweet reminder of laughter and love. Suddenly the door burst open, and Delilah stood framed in the doorway, a storm cloud of dishevelment and fury. Her hair was a tangled mess, and her stained t-shirt and pajama pants spoke of a disregard for the solemnity of the occasion. "What the hell is going on in here?" she snapped, her voice a jagged shard of ice that instantly silenced the room. "We're just having dinner, Delilah," I replied carefully, the tremor in my voice betraying my shock. "Remember, I mentioned it last week. You're all being way too loud. I can hear you cackling through the walls, and I'm trying to rest. This noise isn't good for the baby." My dear friend Carol, ever the peacemaker, spoke up gently. "We're so sorry, Delilah. We didn't realize." "And who are you?" Delilah cut her off, her eyes narrowed with undisguised hostility. "Never mind, I don't care. All of you need to leave, now." The room fell into a stunned silence, the air thick with disbelief. My friends exchanged uncomfortable and confused glances, their eyes questioning mine. A wave of mortification and a slow burn of anger washed over me. "No one is leaving, Delilah," I stated, my voice firm, despite the tremor that still ran through me. "These are my close friends, and we're honoring my husband's memory today. We are not being loud. We are simply talking and looking at photos." "It's your husband's death day?" Delilah sneered, her voice dripping with disdain. "Well, he's been dead for years. Get over it already." She glared at me, then her gaze swept over my bewildered friends, her expression a mask of contempt. "This is ridiculous. I need peace and quiet." With that, she turned on her heel, storming out of the room and slamming the door behind her with a violence that echoed the turmoil in my heart. My friends, bless their compassionate souls, tried to pretend the ugly scene hadn't unfolded, but the evening's fragile peace had been irrevocably shattered. They left early, their hugs at the door filled with unspoken concern and lingering discomfort. That night, I waited up for Jackson, the anger simmering beneath my composure like a dormant volcano. When he finally arrived home from his late shift, his face etched with exhaustion, I confronted him, my voice trembling with a mixture of hurt and fury. "Your wife just humiliated me in front of my friends," I began, struggling to maintain a semblance of control. "She told them to leave my house and said the most awful things about Alistair." Jackson rubbed his weary eyes, his shoulders slumping. "I'm so sorry about that, Serafina. She's been having a really hard time with mood swings. The pregnancy hormones are really hitting her hard." "Pregnancy doesn't give her the right to be cruel and disrespectful, Jackson. This is my home." I know, he pleaded, his eyes filled with a desperate appeal. "I'll talk to her, I promise. Just try to cut her some slack, okay? Please, for me?" Against my better judgment, I relented, mostly because the thought of a bitter conflict with my brother felt like another unbearable weight to carry. But whatever conversation Jackson had with Delilah did absolutely nothing to temper her increasingly erratic and hostile behavior. In fact, things spiraled downward with alarming speed. She began to find fault with everything, her complaints a constant, grating soundtrack to my life. The aroma of my morning coffee, a ritual I had always found comforting, now elicited a dramatic gag. "That smell makes me want to throw up," she'd declare, her hand clamped over her nose. Even the delicate perfume I had worn for years became a source of offense. "Are you trying to poison my baby?" she'd accuse if I dared to apply even a subtle spritz. One evening, as I prepared a simple spaghetti dinner, the comforting scent of simmering tomatoes and garlic filling the air, Delilah swept into the kitchen, her face contorted in disgust. "God, that garlic is making me sick. You know I can't stand strong smells right now." "I'm just making dinner, Delilah," I replied, my patience wearing thin. "Well, make something else, or better yet, don't cook at all. Your food always stinks up the whole house." That was the breaking point. I turned off the stove, the simmering sauce cooling in its pot, and grabbed my purse, the click of the clasp echoing my resolve. "Fine," I said, my voice tight with suppressed anger. "Cook your own dinner if mine is so offensive." After that, I retreated from my own kitchen, the heart of the home now a battleground I refused to enter. I began eating lunch at work and picking up takeout on the way home, the added expense a small price to pay for a semblance of peace. Finn's behavior also underwent a disturbing transformation. The once polite and quiet little boy now met my simple requests with eye rolls and insolent retorts. "Finn, could you please pick up your backpack from the hallway?" I asked one afternoon, my tone gentle. "Why should I?" he shot back, his voice laced with a newfound defiance. "You're not my mom. My mom says I don't have to do what you say." I stood there stunned, the air thick with unspoken manipulation. What poison had Delilah been whispering in his young ears? My friends, once a source of comfort and laughter in my home, gradually stopped visiting. The last time my dear friend Melanie had come over, Delilah had staged a passive-aggressive performance of epic proportions, storming through the living room no less than 3 times, slamming doors with theatrical flair, and muttering loudly enough for us to hear about inconsiderate people and noise pollution. "Turn that TV down." "Bye," she had shrieked from the hallway, despite the fact that the television remained stubbornly off. "Just ignore her," I had whispered to Melanie, my face flushed with embarrassment. As Delilah's belly grew, a visible testament to the life growing within her, her demands escalated in tandem. Without so much as a word of consultation, she rearranged my kitchen cabinets, placing my carefully organized spices in disarray. She complained incessantly about the water pressure in the shower, a fixture that had served me faithfully for years. Even my choice of laundry detergent became a source of criticism. One evening, I found Jackson alone in the kitchen, his shoulders slumped with exhaustion, and I decided to broach the subject that had been gnawing at me for weeks, a persistent unease that refused to be silenced. "Jackson," I began, my voice carefully measured. "I know things are tough right now, but have you started looking for your own place yet?" He avoided my gaze, his eyes fixed on some invisible point on the countertop. "I've been saving, Serafina, but rents are crazy right now. And with the baby coming, we need something bigger than we had before. Just a little more time, okay? I promise." I nodded, a bitter taste of disappointment coating my tongue. A little more time had already stretched from weeks into months, an elastic promise that seemed to have no end. A chilling thought began to take root in my mind. Did they ever truly intend to leave? The very next day, while Jackson was at work, Delilah dropped a bombshell over a tense and silent breakfast, the words landing with the force of a physical blow. "So," she said casually, spreading a thick layer of strawberry jam on her toast, her eyes meeting mine with a disconcerting lack of emotion. "When are you planning to move out?" I nearly choked on my lukewarm coffee. "Excuse me?" "This house," she stated matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather, "Mark says we'll need the extra bedroom for the baby. Your room would be perfect for a nursery." And in that moment, the insidious nature of their intentions became horrifyingly clear. This wasn't about temporary hardship. It was about a calculated takeover. I stared at Delilah, my mind reeling, trying to process the sheer audacity of her statement. "I'm not moving out of my own house." She laughed, a short, sharp sound devoid of humor, as if I had uttered something utterly ridiculous. "This isn't your house, Serafina. It's Mark's house. He inherited it from your grandparents. He's just letting you stay here temporarily because you were going through a hard time after your husband died. But it's been 5 years. Time to move on." I was speechless, the blood running cold in my veins. I needed to talk to Jackson, and I needed to talk to him immediately. That evening, the moment Jackson walked through the door, his face weary from another grueling shift, I cornered him in the kitchen while Delilah retreated to the shower, the rush of water a temporary barrier. "We need to talk about what you've told your wife about this house," I began, my voice low and trembling with a mixture of disbelief and rising fury. "She thinks you own this house, Jackson. She told me I need to move out to make room for the baby. What the hell is going on?" He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair, his eyes darting nervously around the room. "Serafina, I can't explain." "Explain what, Jackson? Explain why your wife believes she has the right to evict me from my own home." He finally met my gaze, a flicker of shame crossing his features. "When I first met Delilah, I might have exaggerated a few things. I told her my grandparents left me this house, and that I was letting you stay here until you got back on your feet. Why would you lie about something like that? The question hung in the air, heavy with betrayal. He looked down at his worn work boots, his voice barely a whisper. She was dating this lawyer who owned his own condo. I wanted to impress her, to show her I had something going for me too. So you claimed my house as yours? The house Alistair and I bought together? The house he left to me when he died? The words felt like shards of glass in my mouth. I'm so sorry, Serafina, he mumbled, his face contorted with guilt. I meant to tell her the truth eventually, but then we got married and it just got harder and harder to admit I'd lied. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, the audacity, the sheer disrespect. You need to tell her the truth, Jackson, today. I can't just drop this on her now, Serafina. She's pregnant, stressed. If you don't tell her, I will, I stated firmly, my voice leaving no room for argument. Okay, he conceded, his hands raised in a gesture of surrender. I'll talk to her, just give me a little time to find the right moment. But days bled into a week, and Jackson continued to find a litany of excuses to postpone the inevitable conversation. Meanwhile, Delilah grew bolder, her demands escalating with each passing day. At breakfast a week later, she made her move, her tone brooking no opposition. So I've been thinking about the nursery. I need you to clear out your room in the next 2 weeks. The baby will be here before we know it, and we need to start setting things up. I looked pointedly at Jackson, who was suddenly engrossed in his bowl of cereal, his silence a deafening act of complicity. Jackson, I said, my voice dangerously low, is there something you want to tell your wife? He squirmed in his seat, his eyes darting nervously between Delilah and me, but remained stubbornly silent. Fine, I said, my voice laced with a cold fury. The show's over, Delilah. Her brow furrowed in confusion. What are you talking about? This house, I stated, each word a hammer blow, has never belonged to Jackson. It was my husband's, and he left it to me when he died. Jackson has absolutely no claim to it whatsoever. Delilah's face underwent a rapid transformation, shock giving way to a furious disbelief. She turned on Jackson, her eyes blazing. What is she talking about, Mark? Jackson looked utterly miserable, his gaze fixed on the tablecloth. I was going to tell you. Tell me what? Delilah's voice rose, sharp with betrayal. Serafina's right, he mumbled. The confession wrenched from him. This is her house. I never owned it. Delilah shot to her feet so abruptly that her chair crashed backward against the floor. You've been lying this whole time? You told me your grandparents left you this place. I know, and I'm so sorry, Jackson stammered, his face pale. I didn't want to worry you. Worry me? She shrieked, her voice cracking with rage. You're a jerk, Mark. A complete loser. She stormed out of the kitchen, the bedroom door slamming behind her with such force that the dishes in the cupboard rattled. I thought that would be the end of it. Surely, after the devastating revelation, Delilah would be consumed by embarrassment. Their carefully constructed charade shattered. They would pack their belongings and leave, and I could finally reclaim the fragile piece of my life. I was wrong. The next morning, Jackson and Delilah appeared in the kitchen together, an unsettlingly united front. They sat across from me at the table, their expressions oddly determined. Jackson cleared his throat, the sound heavy in the tense silence. Serafina, he began, his voice carefully neutral. We've been talking and we have a proposal. We think you should sell this house. I nearly choked on my coffee for the second time in as many days. Excuse me? It makes sense, Jackson continued, as if presenting a perfectly reasonable business proposition. This place is way too big for just one person anyway. With the money, you could buy 2 smaller places, one for us and one for you. I couldn't help it. A harsh, incredulous laugh escaped my lips. You have completely lost your minds. I am not selling my house. But I'm your brother, Serafina, Jackson pleaded, his voice laced with a desperate appeal. Family helps family. I have helped you, I shot back, my voice rising with the tide of my anger. I let you move into my home when you had nowhere else to go. I have paid for all the utilities and groceries for 6 months while you've contributed nothing. I have put up with your wife's horrible behavior. I turned to Delilah, my gaze unwavering. And now you want me to sell my house so you can have your own place? Are you kidding me? Delilah's face twisted with a venomous anger. You've been nothing but difficult since we moved in. Always complaining, always making me feel unwelcome in my own home. It's not your home, I shouted. finally losing the last vestiges of my composure. That's the whole damn point. Delilah burst into theatrical tears, fumbling for her phone. Mom, you need to come over right now, she sobbed into the receiver. They're being horrible to me. I need your help. That was the final straw. No, I said firmly, my voice ringing with a newfound resolve. No one else is coming to my house. In fact, I want all of you out today. I'm pregnant, Delilah wailed, her performance reaching its crescendo. You can't throw a pregnant woman out on the street. You have a mother you can clearly call for help, I retorted, my voice cold and unwavering. Go stay with her, you heartless thing, Delilah screamed after me, her words a venomous spray. After everything we've done for you. What exactly have you done for me? I asked, a strange sense of calm settling over me amidst the chaos. Besides insult my friends, criticize my cooking, complain about my perfume, teach your son to disrespect me, and try to take over my house. Jackson finally stepped between us, his face a mask of desperation. Serafina, please, we just need a little more time. You've had 6 months, Jackson, I stated, my voice flat and final. I'm done. Pack your things and be out by tonight. What followed was the ugliest scene imaginable. Delilah's histrionic screams and crocodile tears filled the house. Jackson's pathetic pleas for more time echoed in the tense air. And Finn, caught in the crossfire, ran around adding to the chaos with his own confused cries. But I stood firm, a sentinel guarding my own sanity and my own space. By nightfall, they had loaded their meager belongings into Jackson's aging sedan and a beat-up pickup truck borrowed from a reluctant friend. As their taillights receded into the darkness, I felt an overwhelming and contradictory mix of relief and profound sadness. How had things gone so terribly wrong between my brother and me? That night, I dialed the number of my former mother-in-law, Catherine. We had maintained a close bond after Alistair's death, and her wisdom had often been a guiding light in my darkest hours. Change the locks, she said immediately after I recounted the harrowing tale, her voice sharp with concern. And get security cameras installed. I don't trust that woman not to try something stupid. Heeding her advice, I called a locksmith the very next day. The metallic click of the new bolts a small but significant step towards reclaiming my sanctuary. The security cameras followed shortly after, their unblinking lenses silent witnesses to my vulnerability. It felt like an excessive measure at the time, a fortress built against a threat I hoped had vanished with their departure. But I would soon be profoundly grateful for Catherine's foresight. 2 weeks after the tumultuous eviction, I had to embark on a 3-day business trip, a commitment I couldn't reschedule. A knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach at the thought of leaving the house empty, a tempting target. But with the new locks and the watchful eyes of the security cameras, I felt a sliver of reassurance. I could even monitor the camera feed from my phone, a digital tether to my peace of mind. The first day of my trip passed without incident. The second day, however, during a crucial meeting, my phone buzzed incessantly with security alerts, vibrating urgently in my hand. Excusing myself, my heart pounding with a premonition of disaster, I checked the live footage. There they were, Jackson and Delilah, brazen as daylight, standing on my front porch, a pathetic collection of luggage piled around their feet. Jackson was fumbling with my old key, a relic from a life they had so carelessly disrupted, while Delilah stood a few feet away, her swollen belly now a stark reminder of their manipulative presence. When the key stubbornly refused to turn in the new lock, Jackson resorted to jimmying the door with what looked like a credit card. That's when the piercing shriek of the alarm sliced through the quiet suburban afternoon, sending them scrambling back to their car, abandoning their suitcases in their panicked retreat. They returned minutes later, their faces etched with a mixture of fury and embarrassment, to snatch their belongings before speeding off into the anonymity of the street. I was stunned, a cold wave of disbelief washing over me. They had actually tried to break into my house. If I hadn't heeded Catherine's warning, I would have returned home to find them moved back in, undoubtedly armed with some fabricated emergency or sob story. That night, alone in my sterile hotel room, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my parents. Our relationship had always been strained, a fragile thread stretched thin by their disapproval of Alistair, their belief that I had married too young, and their general tendency to find fault with my life choices. The distance had widened into a chasm after Alistair's death, and our communication had dwindled to brief, obligatory calls on birthdays and holidays. "Serafina, is everything okay?" my mother answered, her voice laced with surprise at the unexpected call. "Not really, Mom," I confessed, the dam of my carefully constructed composure finally breaking. And then it all came pouring out. The whole sordid saga of Jackson and Delilah, their parasitic stay in my home, and finally the shocking attempted break-in. "I just don't know what to do anymore," I choked out, the weight of betrayal heavy in my chest. "He's my brother, but I don't even recognize him now." A long silence stretched across the miles, the only sound the faint static of the phone line. Then my mother sighed deeply, a sound that spoke volumes of weariness and understanding. "Oh, Serafina," she said softly. "Mark called us last week, asking if he and his family could stay with us for a while." "What did you tell him?" I asked, a sliver of hope flickering within me. "We said no," my mother replied firmly, her voice leaving no room for doubt. "We've met Delilah before, remember? They stayed with us for 6 weeks last year, before they were married. That woman nearly drove us insane with her constant complaints and ridiculous demands. Your father couldn't even watch his football games because she said the noise gave her migraines." For the first time in years, a genuine connection sparked between my mother and me, a shared understanding bridging the years of distance and unspoken resentments. She understood, truly understood, what I had been going through. "So what do I do now, Mom?" I asked, the vulnerability raw in my voice. "Keep your distance, Serafina," she advised, her tone resolute. "That woman is toxic, and unfortunately your brother can't see it. Maybe someday he will, but until then, you need to protect yourself." We talked for almost an hour that night, longer than we had in years. The conversation a balm to my wounded spirit. By the time we hung up, I felt a sense of healing begin to take root, a fragile new understanding blossoming between us. Sometimes, it takes a shared crisis to bridge the old distances. Life settled into a new, albeit quieter, rhythm after that. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the familiar routines and the challenges it presented. I spent more time with my loyal friends, their unwavering support a lifeline in the aftermath of the storm. I even made the effort to visit my parents twice, a reconnection that had been long overdue. Jackson and I didn't speak. The silence between us was a heavy, unspoken testament to the chasm that had opened between us. I heard through other family members that Delilah had given birth to a boy. I sent a brief congratulatory text message, a perfunctory gesture, but received no response. 6 months drifted by, each day a small step further away from the chaos they had brought into my life. Then, on a dreary, rain-soaked Tuesday evening, a knock echoed through the quiet house. I glanced at the security monitor on my phone and was shocked to see Jackson standing on my doorstep, alone. He looked thinner, his eyes shadowed with a weariness that went beyond mere exhaustion. Hesitantly, cautiously, I opened the door. "Jackson?" "Hey, Serafina," he said, his voice rough, as if he hadn't used it in a long time. Can I come in just to talk, I promise." Against my better judgment, a flicker of my old affection for my brother softened my resolve. I let him in, and we sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where so many dramatic scenes had played out before. "I'm getting divorced," he said without preamble, the words hanging heavy in the air. "I caught Delilah with someone else, her ex, Finn's dad. Turns out they've been seeing each other the whole time." "Oh, Jackson," I murmured, a wave of unexpected sympathy washing over me. He let out a bitter, humorless laugh. "Don't be. It gets better. I did a DNA test on the baby. He's not mine." I didn't know what to say, the revelation leaving me speechless. I simply reached across the table and squeezed his hand, a silent offering of support. "There's going to be a trial soon," he continued, his voice laced with a raw anger. "She's demanding alimony and half of my savings. Can you believe that? After what she did?" He shook his head, a picture of utter devastation. "Serafina, I know I have absolutely no right to ask this, not after everything, but I need a place to stay, just until the divorce is final. I've been sleeping on a friend's couch, but I can't keep imposing. Every fiber of my being screamed no. After the betrayal, the attempted break-in, the sheer audacity of their entitlement, refusing him would have been perfectly reasonable, even justified. But looking at my brother, stripped bare of his bravado, broken, humbled, and utterly alone, I couldn't bring myself to turn him away completely. "You can stay in the guest room," I said finally, the words feeling heavy with unspoken reservations. "But there are ground rules this time, Jackson." The divorce trial was a spectacle, a messy unraveling of lies and deceit. Delilah arrived each day with strategically puffy eyes and a dramatic narrative of emotional abuse at the hands of Jackson and me. She played the victim with Oscar-worthy performance, weeping about how unwelcome and stressed we had made her feel during her delicate pregnancy. I was there to support Jackson, a silent witness to her charade. To my surprise, my mother came too, her presence a solid anchor of support. Even Catherine, ever the fierce protector, showed up to testify about the day Jackson and Delilah had attempted to break into my house, her testimony a damning indictment of Delilah's character. When Delilah's lawyer attempted to paint her as a mistreated, vulnerable, pregnant woman, Catherine stood up, her voice ringing with righteous indignation. "If she was so mistreated," she declared, her gaze unwavering, "why did she live rent-free in Serafina's house for 6 months? And why did she try to break in after being asked to leave?" The judge was clearly unimpressed with Delilah's performance. The irrefutable evidence of her affair, the damning results of the DNA test, and the security footage of the attempted break-in all worked against her carefully constructed victim narrative. The divorce was granted, and Delilah's audacious demands for alimony were summarily denied. Jackson has been living with me for almost a year now. Slowly, painstakingly, he is piecing his life back together. He works diligently, saves responsibly, and is actively looking for his own place. We have settled into an easy rhythm of coexistence, a quiet understanding built on mutual respect. He honors my space, contributes fairly to the household expenses, and is, for the most part, the kind and good-hearted brother I have always known and loved. Last night, over a simple dinner, I had actually felt comfortable enough to cook in my own kitchen. He mentioned that he had met someone new. "She's nice, Serafina, really nice. Not like Delilah at all. I think you'd like her." I smiled, a genuine warmth spreading through me. "I'm sure I would." He hesitated for a moment, a hopeful glint in his eyes. "I was wondering if maybe I could invite her over sometime just for dinner or a movie night." I nodded, the prospect of opening my home again, on my own terms, surprisingly appealing. "That sounds great, Jackson, but," I added, my voice gentle but firm, "I want to be clear about something." "What's that?" "If things get serious between you two, I'm genuinely happy for you, but she won't be moving in here. I've learned my lesson about that." He laughed, a genuine, unburdened laugh that I hadn't heard in a long time. "Don't worry, Serafina. I've learned my lesson too. The next time I live with someone, it'll be in my own place, with my own name on the deed." We clinked our water glasses together in agreement, a silent toast to a future built on honesty and boundaries. It felt good to have my brother back, to know that we had weathered the destructive storm of Delilah and emerged, bruised but not broken, stronger on the other side. And while I can't predict what the future holds for either of us, I know one thing with absolute certainty. This house is my sanctuary, a space I painstakingly reclaimed, and I will never again allow anyone to make me feel unwelcome in it. A valuable lesson. Sometimes the deepest wounds are inflicted not by strangers, but by those closest to us. While extending help to family in need is a noble act, it's crucial to establish clear boundaries and protect your own well-being and personal space. Entitlement can masquerade as need, and the failure to address manipulative behavior early on can lead to significant emotional and even material loss. Learning to say no and prioritizing self-preservation is not selfish. It's a necessary act of self-respect. What are your thoughts on the situation? Have you ever experienced a similar challenge with family or house guests? Share your experiences and insights in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories and discussions on navigating the complexities of life and relationships.